heard about the Divine Mercy devotion. What happened was that Christ appeared to a young Polish nun in Krakow, Poland in 1932, and he appeared like this, showing sparkling red rays and pale white rays coming from his heart. And he said, I want you to have a picture painted of my image with the words down below, Jesus, I trust in you because I have come to forgive even the greatest sinners if they come to me for my mercy. It so happened that just 45 miles away from that place, millions of Jews and Christians were being incinerated in Auschwitz and Birkenau. And yet God chose this humble convent for the revelation that some people say is the most important message in our time. Pope John Paul, by coincidence, was captured by the Nazis and was working in a limestone quarry just a short walk from this place where St. Faustina had lived. 2 years after, every morning he would walk by there, and one day he wandered in to her convent and he saw the picture of Divine Mercy. Fast forward, of course, and he becomes Pope. He canonized Faustina in the year 2000. And he said at that time, he repeated the message that this is the most important message for my papacy, and I have made it my mission to spread it. Today, with our culture being threatened, our formerly Christian culture, by the culture of death, by materialism, and as Pope Francis said, narcissism, if you all know what that is, self-centeredness, and most of all, the threat against our religious liberty by our society and our government. There's a need for us to bring divine mercy and the message of divine mercy to our society. We have just found out that there's a young couple starting a campaign across the country called Divine Mercy for America. And Father Eric has agreed to have the Holy Hour every first Friday at the parish, which was, by the way, initiated by your chaplain, the National Knights chaplain, as a spokesperson for the Catholic Conference of Bishops. So we're going to be praying some special prayers there about divine mercy, which Christ asked Faustina to say for her country. I think you have all seen the great movie about Cristo Rey in Mexico, For Greater Glory. And I think you can be very proud of the role that the Knights played in trying to help persecuted Christians and Catholics in Mexico. I think it's time for the Knights to take a stand. Pope Francis, in his very first homily, which is quoted, by the way, in the latest Columbia magazine by your Grand Knight, the Supreme Knight, rather. And Francis said, we're on a rather difficult journey in our faith. And we can't stop. If we stop, we get in trouble. And most of us are engaged in building something. He said, but we can get distracted in the building, like the Jews in the ancient history of the Israeli people. They got so engrossed in the stones and the architecture that they forgot what the meaning of the building was. So he said, we can be in our organizations, even in the church, no different from any other NGO. You know what those are? Non-government organizations that give out money. Unless we profess Christ publicly. So I'm here tonight to challenge you knights to take a stand in these difficult times and somehow get together the leaders, and maybe it doesn't have to be the leadership of the knights, but try to brainstorm about what way you can participate in our community, our wider society, to bring the culture of life, the culture of trust in God and His mercy, and religious freedom back to our nation. So I would suggest that maybe some of you might have some ideas you could get together, but maybe one thing would be, maybe the knights could show up at this new holy hall. Those who have the uniforms, but it's in the daytime, so it's probably going to have to be some retirees. Over the entrance to the Holocaust Museum in Israel is the saying, except for a few, evil will have its way if a few good men are silent.